Hello everybody and welcome to our new video regarding the latest PC3000 update. In this video we're going to talk about the different features which appear in the latest few months in PC3000 software. And of course this video will include some parts, the parts about hard disk drive of course, and my colleague Sergey will tell you more about the latest features regarding the hard disk drive recovery. And the second part will be about the SSD recovery, and we are going to talk about what's new we got in PC3000 SSD utilities. So let's get started.
Hello guys! As you know, we already ready to announce new 7.6 update of PC3000 software, and in this video, as usually, we like to demonstrate a few new options and features which were added in this update. And at first, as usually, we want to begin from speaking about the hard drives. So what's new we have on this topic. Let me share my screen. And first I want to tell you a few things about Seagate drives. For Seagate drives, one of the important things which were added is the support of new family 97 Tatsu, and unfortunately, I don't have such drive with me right now, but I can show you the picture for better understanding here how this drive looks like. Yeah, it's a Helium drive, Helium 10 terabyte capacity drive. What's interesting is that right now we able to support these drives and we are able to unlock them. I will use the ROM of one of real drives which we already worked before. So here the ROM of this drive, and as usually we need to unlock it. Yeah, as you know, to unlock the drive we in most of cases used patch type number 1. Sometimes we had to use patch number 2, and our developers found that on this drive it's necessary to use another patch. So another patch was added in this menu. It's called patch type number 3, and probably in future this type of patch could be used on other drives. So after the patch is done, you need to write this ROM on your drive. Sometimes it's possible to do through the PC3000 utility, but you should remember that on modern drives, on some modern drives, boot code is locked. That's why for such cases it's necessary to read and write ROM through the external programmer. Yeah, all other things with working with the service area, backup, and other solutions could be similar. Yeah. Also, I want to show you how to work with the drives with several ROMs. This option was added in 7.5, but actually we didn't tell you a lot about it. That's why also it's a good idea to demonstrate how to work with the case when your drive may have two ROMs. Yeah, two ROMs. It's possible that drive store the ROM in two chips instead of one. One of such families is B4 Mobula. Yeah, so I will start this family, and also I already have them previously saved ROM dumps from this drive, ROM 1 and ROM 2. As you see, both of them are same sizes, but the dump looks absolutely different. Here the one main code of the ROM and additional. We need to use both of them, otherwise you can get additional problems later, and it's not good. It's not good. That's why I'm going the same way. Utility extensions work with flash ROM image files, and here I have the option to decode RAID ROMs from two images. So I need to select both of them. So I go into my folder, and it's important that if, for example, in the ROM 0 you will select the wrong dump, it will not work. You will see the warning message, so you will not be able to do the mistake here. So I select ROM number 1 and select ROM number 2. Then I press OK, and here I have the logical image, which is like a mix of the two dumps I used. Then the same way I go to the menu and select the Technomod Unlock and Preparation patch number 1. Then I can say that everything is done, and after that you don't need to save the ROM like this, because this is a logical image. We need to press on the button right, and here you can save ROM to two separate files. Here the folder, I select the folder which was used before. And additional append, for example, let it be patched. Press OK. So what I will get as a result? As a result, I will get two additional patched ROMs, which will be necessary to write on the drive, on both chips of the drive. If you miss the chips, if you write the this part on incorrect chip, of course your drive will not work. You will not damage it, but it will not work. So it's necessary not to do the mistake in this case. And then you will be able to continue the work with the drive as usually, getting access to the service area and do all other things. So actually that is what I wanted to demonstrate you regarding the Seagate drives. Let's speak about Western Digitals. About Western Digitals, we have a lot of interesting things, and the main thing which we glad to announce that we add support of Western Digital Gold. Western Digital Gold, these are the drives enterprise class for data centers. For a long time these drives were not supported by PC3000, and right now we start working with them. So if you got the drives with such labels, most of them already could be supported. These drives could be different interfaces. This is SATA interface, and another drive is SAS interface. So like an example, I will connect this SATA drive to the PC3000, and let's see the new utility. And power on the drive. It's starting to spin, waiting for the ready state. And then I press auto detection. As you see, the new utility which were added into the Western Digital is called WD HPA, which means high performance architecture, or architecture number 7. So here I click on the drive, and for SATA drives, this is a list of families which are supported at the moment. Of course, our developers trying to add more drives to the support list. So I press auto detection. As you see, that drive is already unlocked. If you got the drives with said lock, please raise the ticket. We will be able to help you regarding them. Then utility start and waiting for the identification and initialization of the drive. As you see, drive has some kind of additional dir, which is called flash dir, which is a little bit similar thing with modules directory for the service area part. The same we have also for the ROM part. After initialization is completed, you can do the backup. You can do the backup of this drive, and here the objects which we could save on them. Usually we select ROM modules, press OK, and here the list of the modules which right now are saving. So at the moment the number of functions which we can do with these drives is limited, of course, but we are trying to improve it, and in future I'm sure that you will be able to do a lot of other solutions like we usually do for WD Marvell drives. Right now we can work with the ROM, reading and writing the ROM and ROM modules, and also we can reading and writing the modules in the service area. So if I go to the modules table, just in case, I can see the similar table of the modules like we had for WD Marvell drives. And if I want to start checking, I can also press on the button play here, and the service area structure test will be started. Yeah. What else? As you see, that size of the modules could be different on this drive. Some modules could be really big, as this is module number 4, which is similar with zone allocation table. Yeah, and other modules are not so big. As you see, sometimes we have more copies than copy 0 and 1 on these drives, and that's usually how this drive looks like internally. Another thing which we can do with this drive is creating the map in the data extractor, which is very, very important. Yeah, as you understand, it's very important in case if drive have some problems with head surfaces. Yeah, it's very important to build the heads map to be able disable switch off the heads which are not working well. So just in case I'm creating the data extractor task, and want to show you that actually the data extractor heads map is building. Yeah, that's why we can start work with these drives right now. And I will stop the process not to spending the time. As you see, there are 4 heads on this drive, so I can switch off them if necessary. Yeah, it's working. Of course, it's just a basic version of the utility, and we will try to enhance it and add more options and solutions in future. But what about WDSMR drives? Do we have any changes in this area? Of course we have, and to show you a few interesting things, I will plug this WD Palmer family drive which was formatted one more time to show you how we can work with these cases. So drive is plugged, I need to power it on. Got ready state, auto detection, and run. This drive is Palmer 72. And first of all, working with WD SMR drive, it's very important to start from the backup. If your drive is working well after the start, it's necessary to create the backup at first without any additional things after ROM unlocking, of course. Yeah, you can save the ROM modules on this drive. If your drive for some reason is not working well, then it's necessary to block service area access. As you know, we have different ways how to do it. You can work blocking the shifting regions in service area, but on these drives we recommend to block the module 411. Yeah, and this is the best way to perform the backup. Drive will not do any changes in the service area, and drive will give you ability to save the service area completely without any additional challenges. Now we are waiting until the backup will be completed. Of course, the most important part of the drive which should be saved before any kind of working with the drive is a second level translator. Second level translator is the most important thing, and except doing the backup incomplete, yeah, you always able to work with this module separately, and we strongly recommend you to use this option also additionally. Yeah, because if you previously saved the module using the user areas region, it's necessary to save the whole module also if you are planning to work with second level translator, rebuilding it and working with most complicated cases like formatted drives or drives with deleted files. What we have right now, if I try to go T2 reading and analyze to see what I have right now in the current translator, I can show you that translator looks like empty. Yeah, the new partition is created and drive is formatted. That's why zero data area, it's almost 100%. So as usually what we need to do right now, we switch the drive to the VBA access, and after that I go to the data extractor and will create the task based on utility. Based on utility, instead of creating the task based on SATA port, I will select the source like utility here. Make data copy, file image. This option you can select by default. And what to do next? I go to the Explorer at first, and then I'm starting restoring the second level translator. As a source, I will use copy 0 from the T2 folder which I saved before. And don't forget, if you work with the drive with a formatted partition, it's necessary to ignore the actual translator because it's definitely incorrect. Then As you see, procedure is a little bit changed. At first it was checked the T2 blocks, and right now the empty blocks will be checked. Necessary to do to be able build translator in better way, yeah, as before. Our developers are trying to improve this option every time in every update, and sometimes you cannot see the changes, but internally, yeah, the changes may be very serious, because the internal structure of the second level translator is very complex. So some enhancements were made in this area, and right now in this software version, translator building automatically process of rebuilding the second level translator will be much more efficient and more fast than it was before. As you see, it's almost done, and after that we got the virtual partition, which may be not fully correct, but let me at first enable headers control, and I see that right now there is no data here. So as you remember previously, it was necessary to select the versions, yeah, select the versions for master boot, record, and TFS and MFT. Also, for example, if I don't know what exactly to choose here, and if there are too many variants for boot and TFS, I will use the default one and go to the additional menu. After right click, I use selection versions for metadata, and will scan the drive, trying to give the data extractor ability to build the correct translation automatically. So previously this operation took much more time than right now. Right now it should be done much faster. That is also very important for us. And let's see what we have right now. And right now looks like we have some real data from the old partition. So I need to refresh the partition, and just in case here the real data here. So what I want to show you, let me create the map of marked folders and files. Marked files, it's about 100 gigabyte of space. Then I sort chains from the minimum to the maximum, then create submap using the drives info, and right now, for example, I can start, and as you see, that speed of imaging right now through the PBA mode is not so fast. It's around 8-9 megabytes per second. Yeah. So what's important, if you already created the correct translator, it's much better to rebuild and to recreate the T2 module based on this exact map, yeah, and write this translator to the drive and work through the UDMA mode, yeah. So what I will do right now, I'm going to the same menu. Let me and will generate translator T2 module. Here I will provide the name of this module. Yeah, let it be this one. Also, I will provide the module which we used for creating this one, and I'm right now trying to create new module 190. As you see in the log, it was already added. Then I go back to the WD utility and will write this module. Yeah, this one. And we'll write this module to the drive. You can use any method ABA on copy 0, for example, or I prefer to write the module through the ID. Of course, if your drive has no writing ability, if heads are not in good conditions, you will not be able to do that. But using the uploading T2 in the RAM, for example, is not so stable like if you're able to write it to the drive permanently, and much better to do it if heads and drive is in good physical conditions. After it's done, don't forget to log user area writing, but what's important to remember, if you log user area writing after you create the new task in Data Extractor, you will not be able to build heads map. So it's better to do after heads map is created. That's why right now I will not use this option. I will just power off, power on the drive. My drive is still good, it's not restarting anything, everything is okay. Right now I quit the previous task and will create the new one. And right now I use SATA 0 like a source. Default settings for task creation. And I'm starting from building the heads map. Head map has been built. Also, I want to demonstrate that right now, if you go to T2 rigging and analyze and select the module which we recreated, I will see the different result. Right now, zero data area is about 88%. Yeah, 88%, and everything looks correct. The translator is correct. So after that, I go to the option log user area writing to block ability the changes which drive could make in the T2 after you will start the imaging. Yeah, right now it's important to restart the drive to apply the changes. Yeah, and then I go back and go to the Explorer. Here is the partition. So once again, I create the map of marked folders and files, the same size as before, and one additional recommendation, what you can do to improve the imaging on such cases. As you know, the Windows and FS partitions is a cluster. Yeah, that's why we can somehow modify the map. If I go to the option map modification, and I can round the these chains to the cluster size. Cluster size 8, I can start the beginning like this, apply. And right now also pay attention, we have around 500 of chains, and additional thing I will do here is a compress map. After map is compressed, instead of 500 of chains, I have 92 chains only, which are also rounded to clusters. And then if I press on run and make data copy, I will see that right now speed of imaging is more than 70 megabytes per second. Yeah, much faster, 10 times faster than before. Also, don't forget that in error handling and loss of readiness, you should set settings what to do with the drive in case of getting the problems. So it's possible to repower the drive. Yeah, and in some cases, even it's not necessary to repower. For example, if you're working with encrypted drives, it could be better to use only hardware. Reset, yeah, and it will be enough. It will be enough to get the drive to the ready state and working without repowering. Yeah. What else? It's important to remember that. For example, if in real case you get some problems and drive's behavior becomes not stable, you can always change command to read from the UD main mode to read through the active utility. Read through the active utility will not be so fast, but will be much stable. So we recommend to work with the big chains through the UD main mode, and if you have a lot of small changes and drive behavior is not so good, you can switch the mode to working through the active utility, and it will work much better. So as a result, you will be able to get the data from this partition in as fast as possible. So thank you very much for your attention. In next part, we will speak also about other changes which were made for SSD.
So, welcome back, and we continue with the SSD part. And the first thing that I'm going to tell you will be the new controller support. Of course, for those of you who already attend our large Tech Week conference in Malaga 2024, probably you remember how our engineer George tell you about the new controller Silicon Motion SM2269XT, which was added in beta version that time. And actually, ASLab developers add a wide support of this controller into current version of PC3000. And now we expect that this new generation of controllers, which contains a PCI Express 4.0 support, will be very popular, and they will replace existing one of the most popular controller, which is Silicon Motion SM2263XT, which is really popular. We got a lot of requests in our technical support. So we expect that this controller will be very popular, and we are ready for that because we already have utility and we can work with this type of the CPU. But please keep in mind that this is the new generation of current CPU, which requires a hardware decryption, because all content inside this controller will be encrypted, and you will have to find the key, how I will tell you later, and decrypt the content after you will build the translator. It's very important. We're going to talk about the new features inside the data extractor rate, and we are going to tell you a few interesting things about the Intel Optane memory, how to work with them, because actually this is a part belongs to data extractor rate, but Optane is an NVMe technology which includes two parts of the drive. Optane cache and NAND memory array, and this is a single logical drive, so we will show you how we can deal with it. It will be really interesting. Finally, we are going to talk about the new improved Maxio Tech Utility for Maxio MAS 0902 controller, which gets some improvements, and probably previously unsolvable cases will be ready for to be solved right now. And in the end, we also going to talk about very interesting feature which will help you to recover the formatted SSDs, which are based on silicon motion technology. Actually, this feature is really a revolution in SSD recovery, because TRIM isn't a problem for us anymore, and using the previous copies of Translator, it became possible to recover even the old data that was probably marked as TRIM, but was not deleted since that time. And let's get started. Let's see what we got here. And of course, the first controller that I would like to show you will be Silicon Motion SM-2269XT. Actually, this controller is a part of a huge number of modern solid-state drive, and let's try to see how we can work with it. Actually, this controller is pretty small. It's already placed into the PCB, and I already plugged it to our M.2 adapter. So let's connect it to any of PC3000 Pro port, like maybe port 2, and let's share the screen so you will see what I'm doing on the screen. So let's start the PC3000 Portable Pro, select port 2 and choose the after detection of our port. So we can see that actually this is a PCI Express drive, so we need to choose it. Seal. And after that we are going to launch our utility. You can see that in the list of vendors, in the list of controllers, we got some new markings. One of them is Silicon Motion SM-2269XT. This controller is universal, so it doesn't matter what brand of SSD you will get, because you can choose any of them. If you get a Pacer, if you get ADATA, if you get something else, don't worry, you can go to the utility selection, select the controller name SM-2269XT and select this utility. It's not a problem. So we're going to make a power on and see what we got. You can see that unfortunately after drive connection we don't have a physical lead, which means that probably this drive contains some problems. And if I will launch the universal utility, you can see that there is no PHI or physics, so ACT lead is blinking and we are not able to read the ID. Of course, it's a typical situation when the drive contains a corrupted firmware. When the controller trying to load firmware, we get failed, and as the result, there is no ready state of this drive, and of course there is no any passport ID. And you know what usually we are doing in this case? We are taking the tweezers and we are going to short special save points on the PCB. So how we are going to do that? Let's launch the Silicon Motion utility. For those controllers that we are going to work with, we'll select our any SSD family, doesn't matter. And after that we need to short the save mode points on the drive, and of course PC3000 software will tell you where you need to put your tweezers. And now you can see that PHY register become lit on, drive show us initialization, it show us some basic passport ID parameters, and we got here a few loaders. Which one we need to select? Those one which is highlighted with gray color, so we leaving everything by default. This controller is using the YMTC memory chips produced by a Chinese company, and the loader for this type of memory chip has been already added. Also, we are completely support the variety of Intel and Micron chips, so I'm sure that in case if you will get something new, you can ask technical support and we will guide you. So let's select the target loader and let's load this loader into the drive RAM. And here we got some extended initialization of this drive. Don't forget to launch the memory test because it's amazingly important. It's a pretty typical problem when the SSD contains some hardware problem, hardware corruption, which leads to the disconnection of the NAND memory chip between the PCB of solid-state drive. And of course, in case if 1, 2 or more IDs are missed, first of all, of course, you should try to hit the NAND memory chip to restore the BGA soldering between the chip and make it read inside the utility. But in our case, we can see that all chip IDs works fine. This drive capacity is around 512, so if we will multiply the number of IDs with the single ID capacity, we will get around 500 gigabyte of space in this drive. Of course, it's going to be a bit more because this SSD is using some unallocated blocks, some relocated blocks, some area is storing firmware. That's why we need more capacity than physically this drive have. I mean the passport ID. And finally, of course, let's try to build the translator, but actually I already did it because the process of translator building will take some time and I prefer to prepare it before we start the demonstration, because again, translator building may take up to 1 hour depending on how bad the drive is and depending on what is the capacity of this drive, because in case of a large capacity we need to spend more time. So let's load from file, I mean the translator. Our software will choose the correct profile for this SSD, so we shouldn't rebuild the translator automatically. And also the previous version of PC3000 already have a new feature that allows you to automatically save the translator after translator have been built. It's very important and very useful feature because it allows you to get translator in case if you forget to save it. And in your drive profile, inside the after save profile, you will see target translator. So we can easily use it, no need to save translator every time when you build it. And after we load the translator, it will be possible to move forward. And again, when we are working with this family of SSD drives, most likely that after translator building, you will get a message that, attention, this drive probably contains encryption, please contact ASLab technical support. And in this case, unfortunately, further recovery will be not possible until you ask ASLab technical support to help you. And when you get this message, it's necessary to save the resources from this drive, like do the resources backup, and also you will need to save service blocks. It's also very important to do. After that, simply compress the whole resources, the whole profile folder into a single file, upload it somewhere to the cloud and share the link with the ASLab technical support. This profile will include just resources backup and just service blocks. No any user data, nothing critical, so we will get only service information from this SSD. After that, ASLab developers will help you to extract the decryption key. And when we will get it, it will be possible to reach the data because, again, as I mentioned before, if I will start to build the translator at this moment, I will get a message that this drive is encrypted. But I didn't get it because I load the loader from the file, so it doesn't mean that we shouldn't use the decryption key. When we will send you the decryption key, it will be just a small binary file, approximately 1 kilobyte capacity. You will need to upload this file into utility. For doing this, you just need to select the utility status, pass the reading parameters, choose encryption, and select the target file, which is located on my desktop. So here we can see the encryption key, so we can use it. Actually, here it is. Let's open it, press OK, and now we can easily start the new task in the data extractor. So we will see here the folder structure which been decrypted. And again, here in reading parameters during the task creation, encryption field is still presented. We can see here the decrypt data checkbox, and of course our decryption file has been selected. Let's move forward. Let's make a new task, and let's see what we got. And we got the folder structure. Let's open it. And you can see that at this moment, folder structure become opened. We can see some files, some images, and some of them are possible to open without any trouble. Like this, for example, just to make sure that everything works fine. And another important thing is that we extend the support of the native USB Silicon Motion controllers, which are using the PCI Express bus and USB connection, like this Kingston. It looks like this with the Type-C connector, or like this Transcend USB flash stick. It looks like a common stick, but it contains double side, one for Type-C and another for classic Type-A. Also, we got here the Kingston drive, like this, Kingston DataTraveler, and of course, without the cover, these controllers looks like this. So this is the new Silicon Motion SM2320G controller, 2 NAND memory chips. There is no any USB bridge and Type-C cable. So with such SSD drives, it's possible to work directly via the controller. So we just need to take adapter like this, connect it to the Type-C connector, plug to your PC3000 USB host port, and after that recover it using the utility which are presented in our software. And of course, if you will look into the screen, you will see that right now our developers in current release of PC3000 are seriously improve their internal utility. For example, in previous release 7.5, there was a limited support only for those drives which are based on Intel and Micron memory chips. But right now we can work with SanDisk chips as well, and we support almost all possible capacities, because previously only 1 terabyte and all drives up to 1 terabyte have been supported. But right now we can work with 4 terabyte drives, which is the maximum for current controller capacity. And again, if you would like to see the list of loaders and controller support for the native USB controllers, it's necessary to select the USB host port, launch the utility, and here we can see the list of the brands, of course. Here is a couple of Kingston, a couple of ADATA and Transcend. And if we'll choose by controller name, this controller name is supported, and we got a wider support of different firmwares inside. So it will be possible to select any of them, try to load different loaders depending on your chips, and try to get data. And again, there could be a newer modification of this controller, and there could be new models of drives which are using this SM controller. And in case of any troubles, just let us know. We will try to improve our utility pretty quickly, because we will find the same drive in our local region, we will buy it, we will try to research it, and we'll add solution in the nearest beta version of our software. So if you'll get one of these controller, also not a problem, we can solve it now. And of course, don't need to make any chip off here, because content will be encrypted, it doesn't make sense. But using the Portable 3 or Portable Pro, it becomes possible to use the technological mode to decrypt the data on this controller. So the next task that we're going to talk about will be the new drive based on Maxio controller. And as you already know, the Maxio utility is under developing. In every new release of PC3000 software, our developers, ASLab developers, add more and more new features for this controller. But right now we got some problematic parts like the automatical NAND memory chip determination, which is still under construction. And unfortunately, in this case, when you're working with the Maxio, you have to arrange the memory chip by yourself manually. But sometimes, again, it becomes possible, and if you don't know how to set up the utility, please ask ASLab developers. And again, we are planning to add more and more new profiles into the Maxio utility for automatic configuration of various types of the PCB memory chips combination, their number, their manufacturer, brand, and so on. So in this video, we're going to talk about the Hikvision drive with actually this is 480 gigabyte capacity drive, and we are going to plug it to PC3000 and let's see how we can recover it. This drive is very interesting because it's using the new translator type, and ASLab developers already add the support for this type of translation. So probably if previously one of your drive was not supported, you can try with the new translator construction type. That probably will bring better result for you. So actually this drive, as I mentioned before, is based on Maxio MAS 0902. This controller is pretty popular right now. We got a lot of value drives based on this CPU. So let's talk about the current model of Hikvision and how we can recover this model. Actually, of course, in the beginning we have to launch the correct Maxio controller and launch the MAS 0902A controller, which is selected right now. Another modification, MAS 1102, will be added later because right now it's under limited support and we can work only with ADATA drive based on this controller, while the rest of SSDs, in case you will get them, are not supported temporarily. Probably solution will appear a bit later when our developers will complete the 0902 utility. And of course, a few words about this problematic drive. If I will launch the power supply, drive will go in busy state, so it means that the drive is in a big trouble and we have to launch special utility. So let's do that. Let's select the controller. Our drive is not ADATA, so we need to select the default series and select our controller name. And of course, we will need the safe mode to work with this drive. That's why we have to select the target profile for this SSD. If it does not exist, if for example you get some other modification of drive with different capacity or different number of memory chips, ask ASLab technical support, we will guide you. But for now we can choose the Hikvision model and select the Maxio 0902 controller with SK Unix chip generation 5. Actually, these chips have been added into utility recently, and our developers were able to add the read-retry function, which allow us to read bad areas inside the memory chip when we are reading the data. That's why we already got a target profile. You can see all necessary settings have been set up automatically. The loader, which was selected automatically, NAND package type, number of channels, number of chips, configuration of memory chip map, and some other settings like timings and like ECC type. So we shouldn't touch anything, just leave it like it is. And after that, we can move forward. We can plug terminal 5 if we would like to control the safe mode by utility, but at this moment it's not required, so we can use a hardware key. We got here a couple of a couple of default pictures, but usually it's not a problem to find the safe mode points on any type of drive, because usually it's just a pair of pins that you need to short. In case if you don't know what exactly you need to short, you can ask ASLab technical support, so again we will guide you. And we select the SSD like it already in safe mode. I put the tweezers into the pins, and now I upload the loader and make power supply on. So at this moment you can see that drive shows us a partially reading a passport ID, and now it's trying to initialize the drive by ASLab loader by ASLab internal firmware. And we can see that right now drive is going to be initialized, utility have been set. We can read the number of chips. In this case it's around 8 chip with the total capacity 512 GB, so everything should works fine here. And of course we need to build the translator, and actually I already built it because as I mentioned before, the process of translator building for this controller may take a few hours, because again, depending on the capacity, process may be pretty slow. We need to read the whole SA, we need to generate different type of translator tables, so it takes time. That's why I already built it, and I've got here results. So I don't need to press the search button. I already get some translator tables here. And we get a few algorithms for translator building. Unfortunately, there is no automatical detection, but we recommend you to try one by one. Usually PBT0, PBT1 or PBT1.b will be the most frequently used type of the translators for Maxio MAS 0902. So in this case, current controller is using the latest type of translator, so we have to use this one. And we already see the list of the records for translator table generation. And now we can try to build the translator. So let's select everything by default, press build button, and our software will generate the translator and will upload it into drive RAM. So right now we can see that translator have been generated. Now let's move forward, make a new task in data extractor as we usually do. Let's select everything by default, and let's see what we will get here. Folder structure, open it, and we can see basic partitions, some data inside, and drive should be fully workable, as you can see. Basically, we can try to open any kind of folder here, and we can see that yeah, it's working, so we can start to save the data. Again, unfortunately, right now there are a lot of things to do in this utility, and in case if you faced some troubles, please let us know. We'll try our best to help you. Alright guys, and the next topic that we are going to discuss today will be an Intel Optane drive. Actually, these drives are pretty unique because they are joining two SSD at the same PCB, and Optane technology support appears in the latest update 7.6 that we are going to talk about for now. And the most interesting thing in this drive is that current drives are using the double storage which are located at the same PCB. So we got usually a tiny Intel Optane memory with its own controller, and this tiny Optane memory usually takes around maybe 32 GB or maybe 16 GB depending on the complete drive capacity. And of course there is a normal NAND QLC memory which is placed on the same PCB as the Intel Optane memory, and this QLC memory is communicated with the Silicon Motion SM2263 controller and contains some external RAM buffer, and it working like a hybrid drive. So the Optane is usually using for storing some file structures, some metadata, while the NAND area is used for the main data storage. The trickiest thing is that current drives usually have a BitLocker on it, and it's very let's say it's not easy sometimes to get at least a partial result, because all content is encrypted. And first of all, of course, we need to in case of the Optane corruption, we need to read both areas of this drive. After that, it's necessary to join both areas together into one hybrid image. And after that, it will become possible to open this drive with the BitLocker recovery key and, of course, a rich access to user data. So we are going to try to connect this Intel Optane drive. And let me remind you that for a good working with this drive, you will need a special Intel Optane adapter. Actually, this adapter is available for purchasing. This adapter is pretty useful because it could be used in both type of PC4000 portable system, in Portable 3 and in Portable Pro. But of course, if you have a Portable Pro, our latest tool, the most powerful tool, it will be possible to work with two drives at the same time. While in PC4003 we got just one PCI Express port, so you have to connect this universal adapter channel by channel and read first the main channel, and after that read second channel. While the Portable Pro will allows you to work with both drives at the same time, which is much faster. You'll simply save a lot of time. So I already have PC4000 Pro on my desktop, and I already correctly plug it, like on the left part of the picture. And let's start the software and see how it will work. So let me share the screen. And now let's open PC4000 Portable Pro. And again, the tricky thing is that we need to correctly configure this SSD. First of all, I already plugged this SSD to port 1 and port 2. That's why I need to select both of them. Yeah, port 1 is connected directly via the red Optane adapter, while the port 2 is connected via the SATA wire. But in our case, we are not going to use the SATA controller. We just use a hardware wire to transfer the PCI Express signal. So don't mention anything about the SATA connection. It's a PCI Express connection, of course. And it's very important that when we plug the second part of the SSD of the Optane, we have to select NVMe manually, because our software will detect that this is a SATA connector, because we plug the SATA connector to our port number 2, but again, it's NVMe. And here, AutoDetect will work normally, so now we are ready to start the Portable Pro and move forward. Another important thing is that, first of all, when you powering the Intel Optane drive, it's very important to power the main drive, which is Silicon Motion controller and NAND array, because this is the main drive, the lead drive, and it must be powered at first. So when we power this drive, we can get here a physical lead, which is lead on. And if I will launch Universal Utility, we can read here the passport ID parameters of this NAND part of the Optane drive. And again, I can switch back to utility selection. And when I launch the power supply on port 2, I also get here a physical connection. So I can launch Universal Utility and see that our Optane part is also reading. Again, if you will try to connect this Intel Optane hybrid drive, actually this model name is Intel H10, also we saw H20 modification, which is almost the same but contains a little bit faster controller. If you will connect this drive to your computer, you will see just one drive partition without any other additional Optane cache memory. And in this case, of course, it will be not possible for you to completely recover this drive, because again, due to the encryption, you need the Optane part. And the only way to read it a correctly configurable computer with the IRST support, with Intel IRST support, which allows you to work with this hybrid solution. Or you can use PC3000 to generate your own hybrid drive and get access via the data extractor. So when we got a reading status of both of the drives, we have to launch the data extractor, and after that let's make a new task. So we are doing a new task here. Select the main drive, which is NVMe number 1, because again this is the NAND part, the largest one, and make a data copy to our local hard disk drive into PC3000 task. So what we need to do now? Of course, we need to follow by Explorer, and we need to add second drive, which is our Optane memory. For doing this, let's select the button Add Drive, select our NVMe 2, make a copy, and at this moment we will get two drives to partition connected to our data extractor RAID. You can use image, you can use a direct drive connection, it doesn't matter. In my example, I'm just working directly with this SSD without any previously saved images. But if you have portable tree, you can save the images separately and then upload them into data extractor RAID. And of course, we need to add the new configuration of RAID, what I am doing right now. So I press here. After that, you can launch the after detection of RAID type using the RAID metadata. And you can see that number of configuration has been found. Actually, this is an Intel RAID, Intel Fusion, or you can also use a special Intel NV cache from the list of the different RAID arrays. It's up to you. And after that, of course, we have to add this configuration. So let's edit this configuration. Let's add all drives together. And after that, let's save this configuration because we're going to work with this Optane memory. And we got this drive, so let's press OK. Let's exit from this and let's try to open our new virtual drive. You can see that we need to run the metadata scanning. Let's press yes. Nothing should be pressed additionally. Now our software will try to find some extra metadata which will be required here for this task. So let's take a look what we will get here. Usually process will not take much time, but probably we have to wait a couple of minutes also. So a new virtual drive has been added, and now we're able to proceed with the versions updating and some additional metadata scanning. Lucky for us, everything is done by our software automatically. You shouldn't do anything manually, just try to extend the partition. And here we can see that our local partition doesn't have any encryption, which is good. But in case if you will get some, don't forget that you need to ask your customer about recovery key. It's very important. Without recovery key, it will be not possible for you to open the encrypted BitLocker partition, which is a part of this hybrid drive. But in our case, we can see that user area is pretty good. We can open the main user data partition, and we can also check the internal files which are located into the desktop folder. So right now we are ready to save the image. The tricky thing is that Intel Optane could be based on various technologies. For example, this drive contains a single SSD PCB printed board with two drives on board. But we also face some other type of Intel Optane where we got a small capacity SATA or M.2 very fast Optane memory with 16 or 32 GB and a classic hard drive. And they also become joined together into a one single hybrid drive. This technology works very similar to Apple Fusion, which is already supported. You know that probably some AMACs with 27 inches are using a small SSD. Previous models were used a small SSD and a large hard disk drive. Here we got the same technology. So we got here a small area of Optane memory, where the file system, where the metadata is located, and of course we got a large QLC area where all the rest of data was stored. So here it is about the Optane drive. You can see that the whole process is pretty simple. I think that this is one of the easiest RAID cases that your lab may face with. And also it's very important that both part of Intel Optane should be working. In case if one of part is not detectable or it's not working, it's not read the ID, it stays in busy, we are in trouble, because in this case, unfortunately, it will be not possible to complete the imaging of Intel Optane virtual hybrid drive. Again, both parts should be okay, because yeah, as I already mentioned, the NAND area is based on Silicon Motion 2263 controller, which is fully supported by ASLab, but the problem is that this controller is used in Intel drive, and Intel engineers are completely rewrite the internal drive firmware, which makes our existing solution for the rest of SM2263 controllers be incompatible with this modification. So our loaders are not working, and in case of busy state, in case of no ID or wrong ID, unfortunately reconstruction of Optane will be not possible. But again, sometimes even in this case, it become possible to make this drive alive, because the problem could be in bit errors. So we can hit the NAND memory chips, we can try to initialize the NAND part and probably reach the data. But again, in case of any troubles, please contact ASLab technical support. Our engineers will guide you. And in the end of our video, we are going to tell about the new feature in all Silicon Motion controllers for PC3000 SSD. Actually, our ASLab developers add a great integration between the data extractor and the SM controller's translator reconstruction process. This combination of utility and data extractor allow us to use different translator structures, different versions of the translator tables, and roll back the data by different versions. Actually, this process is very similar to the Western Digital WD SMR drives, when we got SMR drive with formatted translator level 2, or when we got some deleted files, and it became possible to read the data by physics, generate different versions of the file structure, and use them to generate some useful file report, which will include the files which have been deleted, or in case if the drive was formatted, it became possible to recover data. And at this moment, current feature is available only for Silicon Motion controllers. Also, we can say that the Phison controller family is also under reconstruction, under researching, and we are planning to add the same feature for all Phison-based drives in the nearest future. And other controllers, other modifications of the CPU will be added later. But in this video, in this version, we're going to talk about Silicon Motion only. And the first drive that I'm going to show you, actually it's the single drive that I'm going to show you, because this is a real life case. This is very interesting. This is a smart byte drive with a small 120 gigabyte capacity. And you can see that I connect the USB connector to it. So this is the SATA M.2 drive with USB. Now let's try to connect this drive to my computer, and we'll see how this drive will detect. So actually you can see that after I plug my drive to computer, it becomes detected. But unfortunately, this drive is absolutely empty. It doesn't contain any data inside because someone make a format of this drive, and it's absolutely empty. Just some metadata, just probably some new files of the file system, and that's all. No any data inside. So what we can do in this case? Previously, we thought that the TRIM can easily erase the data in the background in just a few minutes. But in real-life cases, we can say that most of the drives are pretty lazy and they didn't completely erase the user data, even if the drive was formatted or erased, because previous translator copies, previous data is still inside the SSD. And with the help of the latest release, it became possible to get this information. It became possible to generate different lists of the versions of the drive and use the previous file version to save it, even if the drive has been deleted from the SSD. And of course, no any type of imager will help you to do the same thing, because for working with such problem, we need the technological mode, we need a professional tool like PC3000, and of course, you need the latest update. So let's take a look how this process will work. First of all, it's necessary to launch the PC3000 portable and connect our drive. So, and in the beginning, let's launch the utility for our controller. In this drive, we got SM2259XT, which is amazingly popular. And of course, we recommend you to switch the drive into safe mode and load the loader. For this drive, we don't have absolutely the same loader model because the internal drive firmware is not compatible at 100%. You can see that here we got firmware version like this, and we get only like this. But utility already highlighted the target loader from the list, so we can select it, press yes, upload this loader, and continue with the drive initialization. And of course, it's recommended to build the translator for this SSD, because when we build the translator, it will be possible to research the previous translator copies, translator tables copies, and use their communication between Data Extractor and PC3000 utility to get access to the previously saved files, to the previously saved file system, and probably it will be possible completely recover the access to the formatted drive that we're going to try. So let's wait a bit until the initialization will be over. So utility initialization was done. Now let's make a new translator. So let's make a new one. And again, the process will take some time. Let's wait. Okay, so as you can see, the translator is ready, and we are able to run the data extractor to see the access to user data. And again, we need to set everything by default, nothing to be changed, just move forward and make the new task in data extractor. So let's check the file structure inside our drive. And we can see here the main partition, which is formatted. The same situation as we got before. And actually, in previous version of PC3000, this is the best what we can get from this drive, because there is no information about the file structure, about the previous version of the translator. But what about the current version of PC3000? Actually, there is a new feature that allows us to communicate with the utility and use different versions of the translator and different versions of the files. As I mentioned before, this feature is very similar to a classic Western Digital SMR solution that already presented in the data extractor for formatted drives. So what we need to do, it's necessary to make a right click on the main drive, select working with the utility, and add drive with access by physics. When it will be ready, it's necessary to add the drive with translator, with translation and versions. Let's select it. And we got here some metadata found. Data is still the same as before, as I showed you before in the main partition. But now we can use different versions of the file systems and different metadata, which will help us to use previous translator versions. And again, this process is almost completely automatical. So we can use the edit button to modify the internal translator version. And what we can do here. We can see here that, for example, this drive contains a couple of boot versions, some root catalogs, and a lot of metadata which was found for this drive. Too many for such a tiny drive with almost empty content after formatting. That's why we can try to use this metadata to reconstruct, and of course we have to use the previous translator version to reconstruct the previously formatted partition. And let's do that. For doing this, we need to select the main partition and choose Analyze and choose Selection Versions for Metadata. Let's select it and press OK. Now let's wait. This process isn't very fast, of course we have to wait, and the same as for the hard disk drives, process may take a lot of time because we are reading this drive by physics. Let's try to expand the partition and we can see that previously recorded data appear. And we can see that almost all files and almost every folder contains the version that we can select and use different previous versions, latest versions of the folder and file, and we can try to roll back the versions of different files. It's very important feature for forensic specialists and for those people who would like to research the content on the drive after a long usage time. And of course, this is a brilliant solution for really formatted drives. In case of your SSD has been formatted and you would like to recover it, here is the option. Of course, we shouldn't forget about the headers control. It will be more easy for us to detect where the files are good and where they are bad. But in general, we can see that this result is pretty promising. We can see the complete folder structure. Of course, some files could be already be damaged because of the bit errors, because of the ECC corruption, the bad cells corruption. But in general, result should be not bad. And of course, it's possible to continue work with this drive, with this virtual drive. So we can try to use different versions of the boot version, of the root catalog, and try to use them one by one to find probably those one which contains the files which were deleted from this drive. This is a general result about the formatted partition, but in case of data deleting, again, we can try to use different versions to roll back different file versions and see the content inside them. Very useful feature for deleted files and for formatted SM-based SSDs. As I mentioned before, solution for phasing controllers will be ready in the next version, and other controllers are under researching. So this feature probably will be added for all existing utilities in PC3000 SSD. Alright guys, so that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you watch this video till the end. In case of any questions, please feel free to ask our technical support department on our technical support portal, so our engineers will guide you. See you next time. Bye.